Early mornings are miserable for many teens, yet for most high school kids, they're required. Now, as WGBH's Stephanie Leyden tells us, an effort by one local family to start school later in their city could have a ripple effect in communities across greater Boston.
15-year-old Alex Brinchero starts his day with something he never wants to hear, his alarm clock.
I wanted to sleep through it.
Here in Melrose, where Brinchero is a high school freshman, school starts at 7:45. His parents expect the battle to get him out of bed will only get worse, as it did with his older brother.
By the time he was a junior and senior, we were battling over minutes in the morning. Like, can I have 5 more minutes?
I would tell him, you got to get to bed early. You got to get to bed early so you can get up early. And he would say, Dad, I go to bed and I just lie there. I can't fall asleep. I can't fall asleep. And I would be like, oh, that's nonsense. You just got to do it.
But the Brincheros have had a change of heart, become advocates for starting school later. Frank Brinchero, a family doctor, calls it a public health issue.
You start looking at some of the research, it's almost like smoking.
Years' worth of studies link early school start times to chronic sleep deprivation and an increased risk of everything from car crashes to depression. The American Academy of Pediatrics calls for starting middle and high schools at 8:30 a.m. or later. The reason, most teens can't get to sleep early.
Melatonin secretion changes and circadian rhythms shift by about 2 hours. So that when a kid says, I can't fall asleep at 9 or 10 o'clock, there's a real biological reason for that. And that's what made me realize, this is not just my kid who's having trouble. This is something we should address as a community.
And they said, would you consider this? And I said, absolutely.
Melrose Superintendent of Schools, Cindy Taymor, supported the idea of starting high school later, but
it's not simply me saying, let's change the time. There's a domino effect.
One of the biggest concerns, coordinating after-school sports schedules. It led the superintendent here to reach out to neighboring communities to see if they too would consider starting school later.
School superintendents in 11 Middlesex League communities from Wakefield to Winchester, Reading to Arlington said yes. They signed a letter supporting a plan to start high school no earlier than 8 a.m. by the fall of 2018.
We know the research. It's well documented, it's well vetted, and they all agreed immediately that this should be something we should do as a group.
It's a done deal in Melrose, where the school committee voted to move back the start time for both middle and high school until 8:15 beginning next fall. Now, 10 other towns will decide whether or not to follow suit.
The teenage issues are tough enough. Getting enough sleep and being well rested. I hope every community does it.
Stephanie Leyden joins me. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello, Jim.
So given the research, isn't this a no-brainer for every community? I understand the logistical issues, but isn't it a no-brainer?
Well, the logistical issues in some cases outweigh the no-brainer aspect of it. I think a lot of administrators understand that this research is out there, and for the health of kids, it's better if they can sleep later and, sync up the schedules with their own sleep cycles.
Nobody denies the science, do they? They just say it's logistically difficult, yes?
Right, because it's really a disruptor. I mean, in many communities you're talking about, if the high schoolers are going later, the younger kids are probably going earlier, so you're changing the bus schedules, you're changing family schedules. That is no easy task.
Okay, so first of all, are other communities already doing this? And if they are, is the jury returned a verdict or is it not?
Over the past number of years, there's an organization called Mass Start Schools Later. They've tracked about 12 schools. Yeah, right to the point. They've tracked about 12 communities that have moved back the school start times. I was actually down in Sharon a couple of years ago talking to the principal of their high school about this, and they just moved, the school start time to just past 8 o'clock. And he said there was a difference in terms of kids seeming more ready to learn, the reports he was getting from the teachers, and less tardiness.
And did they deal with the logistical things that are theoretically insurmountable? I mean, ultimately they were able to deal with it. I'm not belittling them, but I mean, deal with it is the bottom line.
And that's why this is interesting. If this league, these 11 schools can coordinate this effort, you might really start to see a change, changing the status quo.
Am I allowed to say you have a high schooler? Can I say that? I guess I did already.
You did.
So personally, 15 seconds, how do you feel about it?
Well, he's very tired in the morning, and he didn't used to be. He used to get up with the sun. It seems as soon as they get into high school, they become adolescents, they want to sleep. I mean, there is this change. I would say I've got evidence of it in my house.
Perfect. Stephanie Leyden, thanks.
You're welcome.